Welcome back. This is Tommy Newberry. In this episode of Achieving Optimal, I want to talk to you about what I think of as the number 2 principle of success. Maybe some people would argue with this, but I think it's the number 2 principle of success. We're not going to get to the number 1 principle today, but I want to hone in on this single principle. It's so strong, I really think of it as a law, because if you're aware of it, it can lift you up quicker than just about anything else. And if you're not aware of it, it means you're going to neglect it. It can pull you down quicker than just about anything else as well. In fact, I've told my 3 boys, I've said, if you practice every other law of success, but you neglect this one particular law, then it can cause you more harm and more damage. It can almost negate all the other principles that you're trying so hard to put together if you violate this particular law. So before I tell you exactly what the name of it is, I want to talk about a pig and some crabs. And so I'll start with the pig story, and the pig story goes like this. Why is it that you should never ever wrestle with a pig? Maybe you've heard this, but the reason you shouldn't wrestle with a pig is you will end up getting dirty, and the second reason is the pig will like it. Okay, so just file that away. Now I want to talk about crabs. So pigs and crabs, you'll catch the drift of this. If you've ever been to the beach and maybe wanted to have some fun with the crabs down in the sand, you could scoop up some crabs. If you can find a bunch of them hanging out together, you can be quick and get them one at a time. But once you've got a bunch of crabs in the bucket and there's some sand and a little bit of water, inevitably what's going to happen is one of the crabs will try to make a run for it. One of the crabs will try to escape, as I think I would probably do. But here's the interesting thing. As the crab starts to make a run for it, crawling up the edge of the bucket, the other crabs, at least 1 or 2 of the other crabs, will reach up, grab the leg, and try to pull that runaway crab back down with all the other crabs. And here's the scary thing. That's just like humans. It happens. Human beings will have this tendency to want to have company with people that are trying to stand out and escape and make a much bigger and better life. And if we're not aware of this, then we can fall victim to it, if you will. So whenever I talk about the principle of association, I talk about relationships and who you're hanging out with, I found that it makes my audiences kind of nervous or anxious. People are squirming sometimes in their seats. And it's very interesting because I think people are just uncomfortable with the idea of talking about people in their life. And I think when I start talking about relationships and the impact that relationships have on you, people inevitably are thinking about certain individuals in their own life. But when I was early in life, maybe I think I was a teenager, I heard this quote from George Washington. It said roughly this: associate with men of good quality if you esteem your own reputation, or it's better to be alone. I mean, think about that for a minute. Associate with or hang out with people of good quality if you value your own reputation, or it's better to be by yourself. That's pretty powerful. The Apostle Paul said almost the same thing. He said, do not be fooled. And whenever you hear do not be fooled in Scripture, or God is not mocked, when you hear those phrases, it's a reminder that this is serious stuff. So Paul says in Corinthians, do not be fooled. Bad company corrupts good character. Bad company corrupts good character. I think we all know that. It's just so hard to enforce that in our own life. And then I'm a big fan of Proverbs, and there's 2 that I think, actually there's 3 that speak to this really strongly. One used to be the slogan for my coaching practice back in the 90s, and it was iron sharpens iron and one man sharpens another. Iron sharpens iron. I mean, that's really what we want to strive for if we want to reach our full potential. The second verse is, if you want to be wise, and again, I'm paraphrasing here, if you want to be wise, hang out with wise guys. Yeah, I'm not talking about the mafia here. I'm talking about other wise, focused, high-achieving, high-character individuals. If you want to be wise, hang out with those who are already wise. And then the other verse that I just thought of was and it's also a proverb, is guard your heart with all diligence, guard your heart intently, guard your heart with strategy, guard your heart carefully, because out of it flow the issues of life. So bottom line is this: our associations, the people that we hang out with most of the time, are like the buttons on an elevator. They either lift us up or they pull us down. So why do people get so anxious, or they think negatively about me for bringing up this truth? I'm not exactly sure, but I have received very kind of harsh emails. There's no other way to say it. I've received some people very curious and critical of me at a break or at the end of a workshop or seminar. And they seem to think that I'm promoting judging others, which I'm not. I'm just wanting to equip people that I work with the truth. And that is that sometimes we get brought down by the people that we're spending our lives with. And sometimes we get lifted up. But it's not about judging others. It's about knowing what your goals are, knowing what your purpose is, and making sure that you're making decisions in light of the people that you're, in light of the goals that you have. So another kind of objection, if you will, is that this sounds like, they'll say, Tommy, this sounds like you're using people or manipulation. No, this is just common sense. If birds of a feather flock together, if we become like the people that we hang out with the most, then if we have a vision, which I hope you do, of the person that you intend to be down the road, the legacy that you want to leave behind, then it's just kind of obvious that if we choose to hang out with people who will move us in the other direction, that's not smart, that's unwise, that's foolish. And one of the main reason that people shift us in the wrong direction, if we're spending too much time with them, and if they're not on the same page with us from a character and ambition level, is that the people that we're hanging out with, make sure that you hear this carefully, the people that we hang out with the most influence our thinking. And if they influence our thinking, they influence everything else that happens to us. So another objection, if you will, is that we should be spending time with the downtrodden or the ministering to the unchurched. And what you're saying, Tommy, what you're saying, Coach, doesn't sound like you're appreciating that. Well, I'm absolutely appreciating it. What I'm saying is that the people that you're with day in and day out, that you're investing your life with, your career with, you want to hang around winners. This has nothing to do with having as one of your life values that you want to help those who are lost in life. That's a great thing. But here's how I explain it to my boys. I have 3 boys. 2 of them are adults, and then 1 is in the middle school age. And I say this over and over and over again, and I have ever since they were born, or soon thereafter, is this: relationships have consequences. Relationships have consequences. I want you to think that or say that out loud, depending on where you are. Relationships have consequences. You see, many principles, many natural laws in life aren't fun or nice or pleasant or convenient. Gravity is one such law. I mean, if you're a good person or a bad person and you step off the edge of a building, whether you're good or bad, you're going to go down. That's not unfair. That's not mean-spirited. That is just gravity. So gravity is inconvenient. And the inescapable fact of life is that the law of association sometimes, often, or sooner or later is going to be inconvenient for you. Some people that you hang around are toxic, they're negative, they're dream killers. And why is this essential to understand? It's because we are sponges. You're a sponge, I'm a sponge. And we soak up the exposures around us. And the strongest, the most influential influence around us are the people that we hang out with, particularly the people that we work and live with. So we become like the people that we hang out with the most. And here's the sneaky part. This is very sneaky because it's so subtle. And this is kind of a sub-principle to the principle of association. And I call it the nudge principle. The nudge principle means that we don't get punched or kicked off track in life. We do not get punched or kicked off track. How do we get off track? We get off track a little bit at a time. The people, the negative individuals in our life do not punch us or drag us or kick us off track. If they did, you know what we would do? It's what I would do. I would fight back. If I saw it coming and realized and it was significant enough, I'd fight back. I wouldn't go along with it. But if it's so subtle, right? If it's so subtle and little bit at a time, this gradualism, if it's like that, we sometimes might miss it entirely. And it's kind of like, think of putting on weight. If you ate poorly one day and the next day you were 15 pounds overweight, you'd be very, very careful about what you ate. But it's so easy because eating and gaining weight is so subtle and gradual that you can miss this because it's creeping up on you, it's sneaking up on you. I will sometimes just tap people when I'm speaking. I'll have somebody come up and I'll say, this is how you get off track. You don't get off track with somebody with a baseball bat kicking you, hitting you, knocking you off track. You get off track an inch at a time, just like you get out of shape kind of one belt size at a time, one bite at a time. So it's very, very important for you to remember. So let's flip this into something very positive. I want you to be intentional with the people in your life. That's the message. Be intentional with the people in your life. One way to be intentional, and this is not meant to be mean, this is just a fact of life, is I want you to think through the people that you spend most of your time with. And by the way, I just said the word spend. I think when you're talking about or thinking about or planning out your life, there are some people that you spend time with. And if we kind of have a metaphor for expenses and finances, then you can think of the difference between spending, and investing. Because when you spend something, it's kind of gone. You get something for it, but it's probably temporary. There's not a big ROI necessarily. It's just gone. When you invest, then you're giving something up, you're paying something, but you're not only getting something for your money, you're going to have a greater return. You're going to have a profit. And so what I'm about to share with you is a very simple way to evaluate your current relationships and associations. And at the end of this little assessment that I trust you're going to do, you may conclude, you may do this assessment, and you may think to yourself, you know what? This was good information, but I'm exactly where I need to be. I have the right people in my life. I don't have any of the wrong people in my life, and I'm investing enough time with the right people, and I'm not spending too much time with the wrong people. That might be the conclusion of this, but here's what I don't want to have happen. I don't want you to ignore this altogether. I don't want you to skip this step. I want you to be aware. I want you to be engaged. I want you to be fully conscious and sensitive to whether the people in your life are moving you in the right direction toward your goals, toward the person you intend to become, or are they moving you in the wrong direction? So here's the simple process that you could use. There's maybe another way to do it, but this is simple, and people have told me that it worked well for them. So there are some people in your life that we might code, if you will, as red. The red relationships are people that are potentially, or maybe definitely, people that you shouldn't spend much time with, or maybe any time at all. And what I have found is that most people, at least the clients that I work with, don't have but maybe one or at most two of these people in their entire life. So this is not that big of a deal, but you need to be aware, are there people who are toxic or caustic, people that are moving you, nudging you in the wrong direction, and you're just letting it happen? Because again, you can do everything else known to be successful, to be a high character, success-minded individual. But if you fail to account for the red relationships, then those red relationships can undercut your entire efforts. So we got red relationships, we've got yellow relationships. Yellow is probably the biggest category. Certainly more yellow relationships than there are red. So just like the traffic light metaphor here, the yellow lights just mean caution. Be careful, assess. So there may be some people in your life who are yellow relationships. These yellow relationships, maybe you don't need to get away from these individuals totally, but maybe you need to spend less time with them. Maybe you need to see them less frequently, hang out with them less frequently, or involve more people when you do get together with them to kind of dilute the potential negativity or negative thinking or small thinking that comes, or limited thinking is another way to think of it, that comes from spending too much time with these individuals. It's just a caution. It's just a caution. And then the third type of relationship, which is what I want you to emphasize, is what I'm emphasizing to you. I said be intentional, watch out, warning, there might be some red relationships in your life. There could be some yellow relationships, but obviously here we go to green. I want you to emphasize the green relationships. These are the relationships that will rub off on you positively. These are the individuals who will move you toward the person that you want to become just by investing more time with them. All of your green relationships are investments. These might be role models, coaches, teachers, mentors, mastermind groups, mastermind partners, and definitely you want to make sure that your close circle of friends are green relationships. The people that you entrust, that you talk with most of the time, that you share what's going on in your life with, make sure that they're green relationships, because this can be very tough. So we've got red, okay, maybe that's at the outside of some concentric circles, some red relationships, maybe there's just one, maybe two, and then you've got a little bit closer to the bullseye, you've got some yellow relationships. This just means be careful. Make sure, the great Jim Rohn used to say it like this. He said, make sure you're not spending major league time with minor league people. Flip it, make sure you're spending major league time with major league people. Again, some people may not like that illustration, but I think it's dead on. And then you've got the green. Make sure these are the high quality people that will challenge you. This doesn't mean they always tell you what you want to hear either, by the way, but they hold you accountable. These are the iron sharpens iron relationship. These are the people that challenge you to grow and that rub off in a positive way. And before I move on, it's important to note that, particularly in this day and age with technology, you may have some virtual relationships. These are the people that you consistently read, watch, listen to, the sites that you surf. This isn't exactly a relationship necessarily, but it can have the same effect on you, what you consistently read, watch, and listen to. So this is just far, far too important to wing it. I want you to be intentional. I want you to take your entire life to the next level, because there may be some things that you can get away with without a plan or without forethought, but when it comes to your most important relationships, the influence that they can have on you is profound. So remember, why does all this matter? This matters because you've got a legacy that you're working toward. This matters because you've got success on your mind. And as you know, as I remind you every time, your success blesses others.